All right. You've got to look at some of those things, and then you bring it back to the local context of Uganda. In particular, they'll tell you that Uganda loses 10 trillion shillings every year to corruption.
All right. Now we've seen the figure that Uganda loses every year in forms of corruption. Last month in July, we saw a failed protest march to Parliament. It was on 23rd. We can term it a failed protest march because it didn't yield anything. It was called Peaceful Demonstration, March to Parliament, 23rd July. We saw it failing. So what are the really effective means that the youth can take up to fight corruption?
Thank you for that question. Now, before I want our fellow young people to understand something before they take on a fight against corruption or even looking for the most effective means. I want us to understand how corruption affects us in communities. I understand that very many of us who also benefit from corruption, but by and large, let us look at the bigger picture. How do we know when we have corruption? When there is corruption, the whole infrastructure of the economy is collapsing. The health sector, the education sector, just the infrastructure, say in terms of roads. What I'm trying to say is that the money that would have been channeled towards the health of this nation goes into one person's pocket. As young people, the money that would have gone to making sure that your businesses are strengthened, because out of 5 businesses that start in Uganda, young businesses, only 1 survives after 2 years. That money that would have supported these businesses goes into one person's pocket. So that is just how bad it affects us. If you go to many government hospitals, they do not have drugs, but people are getting, let's say, service awards. There are other people who are being bribed just to make sure that they cook up figures when it comes to medicine that has been bought and so on. There are people who go to hospitals and bribe and get the government medicine and take them to their private clinics. So in the end, when you go to a government hospital, you're not able to get medicine. In the education sector, the infrastructure in schools is bad, but people are pocketing this money. The roads are bad, but a contractor has simply given kickback to those that decide who the contracts go to, and in the end, no one questions them. So what happens? We all have bad roads, and what comes with these issues such as accidents. That's why you're seeing we have floods, because someone who constructed a particular road did not consider.
Very much, Council Benson Onyango, Director Generation Agenda. Let us now receive another panelist, that is Madam Ahereza Christine, Speaker Jika Luisa, that is Greater Kamwenge District University Students Association. I will ask you one question and then Mr. Isaac will take you up as you're coming. The first question is, who is corrupt? Who is a corrupt person in Uganda here? Not by name, but who is a corrupt? We can start from there and Isaac Kalinda will take it up. You're welcome, Madam Ahereza Christine.
Yes, thank you so much for this question, and I want to appreciate everyone that has given in their time to log in and listen to us as we air out some of the views. Thank you, Council Benson, for elaborating almost on each and everything, hinting on each and everything. So the first question that has been given to me is, who is corrupt? Yes. So here, mainly, we look at the public officers. Like he put it right, it is the public officers that are corrupt, but we also I think straight to the private sector. So in one way, you find that the people in these offices are the corrupt people. Some have it all, but still they need a token of something to help you out. So to answer this question, it is the people in offices, public offices, mostly that are corrupt. Yes, we said even as the youth are corrupt, but one thing we should put in mind is that we usually, in most cases, look up to the people we term as idols. Yeah. So even the youth that are trying to earn something, they usually look at people, let's say at district level, people at let's say a national level. Okay, so in one way or the other, you'll find that the bigger picture that is in a country is bringing up these small habits, especially among the youth at local levels. Yes, so like you asked, the effective means that we can put in place to maybe cap down the corruption level are many. In as far as I'm concerned, there are many. Like Council Benson put it right, there are many, and in different angles. You just have to bring them in different angles. Yes. So one of the things as a leader that I've tried to put across is as the youth being innovative. Yes. We need to be creative and innovative in whatever we are trying to do. This is to say that I usually tell
and I'm the chairman, the national chairman, NFR movement. NFR stands for National Front for Reconciliation. National Front for Reconciliation. We are a young, a youth-led movement in Uganda. We represent the Gen Z. We are not, we are youth-led. We may not say we are part of the millennials, but we don't fight millennials. We are youth-led, and I can simply say that we are the Gen Z. I see all of you people here, you've been discussing and bringing up such quite great ideas. But I want to thank you and applaud you that all those ideas are all encompassed in our manifesto as NFR. And by the end of my submission, I'm sure all of you will realize that you are part of NFR. You might have not probably known about it. Maybe you've known about it, but you've not known what it stands for. But I want to assure you that according to what I've heard before my submission, you are all part of NFR. NFR is a movement. We represent the young people, the views of the young people. We are, first of all, I want to tell you people that we didn't just come up with such a name. You can see it is iconic and it is representative. The word reconciliation is the solution of our country currently. That is why it is the lead phenomenon of our activities and purpose as NFR. When you look at our country, we are a 62-year-old country. But as we approach the 62nd anniversary of our independence as a country, I want to tell you people that the following is happening. As per the last census, figures show that the Gen Z or the young people make up 73% of the population, and the old make up just 23%. But when you look at these two generations, the 23% and the 73%, you will all agree with me that there is a generational conflict in between these two generations. The 23%, in this I mean the old, think or believe that the young people, the 73%, are a threat to their offices, to their resources, to their power, to their everything. The most bigger percentage of the population. For them, they think the 23% are a threat. Remember, we say the 23% see the Gen Z, the 73%, as a threat for their power, for their offices, for their resources, and so on. Now, the 73% also see the 23% as a threat to their future, because the 73% are saying the 23%, they are the ones in power, they are the old ones, meaning the policies and the laws they are bringing up, they are not actually going to be there to live them. So the Gen Z and the 73% see the 23% as a threat to their future, because these people are bringing up policies, bringing up laws, which they are not going to live to implement. So the 73% are telling the 23% that, hey, come on, we need to be on that table so that we know which laws you're bringing up and which policies are you bringing up, because we are the owner of the future you are trying to craft. So there is a generational conflict in our country, and each, the 23 think the Gen Z or the 73%, they are not yet fit to advise. No, we are saying the ones you are talking about as disorganized and violence, they are the owners of the future you're trying to craft. And you're trying to craft it from a place called Parliament, where the Gen Z have only 5 MPs on a total of 500 plus MPs. So the 23% are having a representation of 500 and so 23 MPs. Yet the 73%, the Gen Z, only have 5 representatives in that parliament.
Well, Council, on that very note, we understand when you fight corruption, corruption fights back. You've talked about the Gen Z representatives in Parliament. We have been having a essential motion for the service award led by Honorable Theodore Sechikubo, the MP representing Wemiyaga in Sembabule district, and he has been looking for the signatures from the MPs, 177 signatures. However much he later got those signatures, even more than he reached over 180 signatures, but in those we are not seeing in those signatures he displayed, we didn't see for the National Youth MP in those signatures. So, and is among the Gen Z representative in Parliament. So how we Gen Zs, or we can call ourselves Gen Zs, so we have not also represented ourselves however much we're in Parliament.
Okay, Mr. Mwesige, I want to bring up, that is a very quite inquisitive question, but I want to tell you that even, that is the point I was arriving at, that even the 5 MPs, amongst the 500 MPs that the 23% have, even the 5%, the 5 MPs they gave the Gen Zs, are also influenced by the following factors: patronage, cadreshipness or cadreship, that slots or those MP slots are always advocated for cadres, not representatives of the young people. They are always given as patronage slots. Who knows more NRM big wings in at the secretariat? That one, not having any representative in the national issues, not at the district level, not at parliament level, not at ministerial level, not anywhere. So we are having a generation of 73% that has lost confidence in politicians, because I want to tell you, ladies and gentlemen, these are the young people these are the things young people are hearing from politicians. Young people have lost confidence or trust in government, because you cannot have a minister or a speaker of parliament who can say such a statement and the next day nothing is done. Nothing is done. No action is taken. Okay. Yes. The other, I think a year back, the president said, IGG go slow on the corrupt, because when you go hard on them, they might take the loot they've gotten to other countries. Can you imagine? So the young people are losing trust in government because they see there is no political will to fight the vice or the cancer called corruption. The young people are losing trust in their politicians, so they are left with no option unless to protest, except protesting. So we are, and one of the most common phenomena we've seen in different countries is that whenever a government spends a lot of time and years in power, it becomes more expensive to maintain it.
Yes, you've talked about the Wengo incident, and nothing was done. Still, we drive you back to 23rd March to Parliament. In that, it was, I can call it a failed march to Parliament protest against corruption. We were later told that to have alternative. These are the alternatives we are finding out. When in Kenya they took it up and we were fighting about the finance bill, which involved the 20% of the motor vehicles, the motor vehicle you buy, then annually you have to pay 20% of the money you bought it. Then they were talking, they had raised 16% on bread, 16% on diapers, 16% on these Our Ladies, which they use in case they go to their menstruals. But for them, they started it as a peaceful demonstration. Later we saw Uganda House being burnt, or we saw Parliament being attacked. And then in Uganda here, that's when they said Uganda is not Kenya. Because what starts as peaceful ends up being riot and chaos. So if nothing has been done, so as Gen Zs, how best can we take part in a fight against corruption?
No, I want to assure you, Mr. Mwesige, it was not a futile. The efforts were not futile, and the protests were not futile, and neither are they over. I can assure you, they are not yet over, the protests are still on. But even before we even go further to it, but I want to assure they were not futile. One of the few things that the Gen Zs have been having as pushbacks to their involvement in national affairs has been fear to involve themselves in national issues. You know, when we talk of a young man in Kamwenje, for example, this, and he has acknowledged that
Council, when you talk about the Fountain of Honor making that statement, I will drive you back. Remember in 2018, before even our then Deputy Speaker, Right Honorable Jacob Olanyamai, he is so rest in eternal peace, they marched from City Square to Kororo in march against corruption. What did it yield?
It yielded nothing because there is no political will. That was before the young people spoke up. Those are the schemes which have been molded to steal public funds. It yielded nothing because it had no political will. So these young people protests have shown that the country needs to look their way, and the young people have been successful in making the country look on their table. They've been able to make politicians plead. Previously, you've seen Honorable Sechikubo and the rest saying, "Come on, let us debate the issues of the young people," because when we don't debate it, they are soon losing their temper, and if they lose their temper, because we've been having them and connoding them around and posturing them around here and there, but now their eyes open. So we need to discuss their issues. We've seen this talked about on the floor of Parliament. They're saying we need to discuss the issues of the young people they are raising, because if we don't discuss them, they are soon losing their temper for peace. And if they lose their temper for peace, we've seen countries like Kenya. I can assure you the Kenyan protests were peaceful. In the first days and the first week, the young generation, the young Gen Zs were the ones arresting the violent people. Once they started coiling up tires and burning tires, they are the ones who used to arrest them and hand them over to police. We've seen that in Kampala.
Okay, then as we are going to other participants, we are just 16 minutes to...
When we are having the protest and some person burnt some tires along Mukwano Mall, the young people were the first to hand them over to police.
Yes, as we council, as we are going to another panel, we've seen all those. Now, this is the question as we go to another panelist. We have looked at all those things, and you've well clearly said that in 2018 the anti-corruption march from City Square to Kororo, where the Fountain of Honor was involved, it yielded nothing. This, you said it wasn't futile, but still we are yet to see the results. What should be done now as Gen Z? What should be done now to curb the continuous corruption?
What should be done should be enclosed and engraved in the young generation and the young people who make up the 73%. That is where our focus is. Let me tell you people, first and foremost, what has brought up this? Why have the young people reached this stage? And how have they managed to make the country listen to them? One, unity. The young people need to know that the future that the old generation are crafting, it is their future. And they have to be involved at any cost. One of the few measures that we've taken as NFR to embark on that issue is to sensitize young people that there is nothing the old generation are doing that you cannot do. There is nothing a mayor of 75 years is doing that you, the 35 of... Lastly,
in seconds.
Yes, in a second, we are having a test as a country. 62 years down the road, we have not had a peaceful transfer of political power. This generation must pass that test. How? Through reconciling and dialoguing. Violence, guns are not going to yield a future for us. We need to dialogue as young people, reconcile, and take this country forward and pass the test of peace, of a peaceful transfer of political power. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much, Council Goji Kodratira, Chairman, NFR Movement. Let us now run straight to... All right, Mr. Asra, you can introduce yourself and I take you up. You are welcome.
Okay, thank you so much. I believe I'm audible enough.
Yes, you are.
Okay, thank you so much. Like you have said, I'm Alinda Asa Alan. I hail from Kamwenge Town Council. I'm the team leader, Kamwenge Youth Forum. Was the speaker, Kamusa. I was the speaker, district, Unsa, Kamwenge, Dek. So many things. So I've engaged the youths on a number of occasions, and wherever I've met them, I have always tried to advise accordingly. However, I wanted to go straight to the point we are discussing here. I want to also apologize for I've come late because I had a very long day and still moving. So we are talking about corruption. You see, in Uganda, it is quite challenging. We are a nation that is grappling with corruption, with leaders who actually do not care to me. And many things have gone through and people tend not to see, or maybe keep a deaf ear. And it is very hurting to see most of these things go about, and we definitely as a nation, we completely have nothing to do about them. I want to give you some examples that are actually lively. For example, we have companies or brands that are prospering in other countries, but they were here and completely free. And you wonder what's not happening. I want to give you an example of a few of Caltex. The first petrol station in the Kamwenge Town Council was Caltex. That was a company that was distributing petrol fuel all over this country. But what happened to it? Caltex did not fall down. Caltex is being very well in Botswana. But in Uganda, it failed. Why? Talk about Orange. Orange is also doing well where? In the Botswana, talk about Vodafone. The same. Very, very, very many companies have failed in Uganda because of corruption. The cost for one to acquire a contract or to win a bid for a government project when you are a national, when you are a citizen, it is actually bigger than the bid itself. There are projects that are moving in Uganda, that are moving around Uganda, that are done by people who bid highly, who actually the low bidder